Hey there, folks, it's Aaron here. Or am I really here? We don't really know where I am. In fact, we don't even know where you are. This could all be real. This could all be fake. But what I can tell you is there's a Patreon page you should go to. That's the Evac Station Patreon page at patreon.com/Evac Station. For only $1 a month, you can make sure that we stay in this reality, or whatever reality you care to actually follow. But remember, take the red pill. Hello, Internet! Welcome to the After Credits cast. You have been inexorably led to this anomaly for which you call a podcast. You will esculate, I cannot pronounce that word, many grotesquities from the many shenanigans that will inevitably arise in the quintessential part of this broadcast, and it is apropos of nothing, for it is absolute, or is it another layer of this onion that is reality? To answer your irrelevant and wordy questions, we have Ryan Morpheus.
Yep, the king of dreams.
And I am Aaron Waseslak. I chose a minor character for myself this week. I thought it'd be more fun.
Commander Waseslak.
I like that. It's a good name. It fits.
It's a good one, yeah.
So, welcome to the After Credits cast, and this week we're going to be talking about Matrix Reloaded. We're skipping a movie and ignoring the third movie for this week. Ryan will have to explain that a little bit. This is actually his choice for favorite movie for our favorite segment here. Before we get into that, Ryan, what you watching?
So I actually have a thing for what you're watching this week. I actually watched something.
Ooh,
it was pretty ridiculous.
What did you watch?
So I happened upon a comedy on Hulu. It is essentially the story of a small hick town in Canada that's chock full of, like, Canadian slang and just ridiculousness. And it's the pace of it combined with all of the rhyming. It's almost like hick Shakespeare. And it is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
What is this show called? I'm going to write this down because I think Amanda would dig this one.
It's called Letterkenny, and I swear to God, I lost my mind. I absolutely lost my mind. I ended up seeing a clip of a scene on Tumblr and was so enamored that I automatically downloaded all 4 seasons just on that one clip.
Nice. That sounds pretty awesome, man. It
was so hilarious.
You said it's called Letterkenny?
Letterkenny, all one word.
Alright, I'll be sure to get that to her, because I'm pretty sure she'll love it. I'll give it a look for sure. She's been watching a lot of the L Word lately, and it's interesting. It's definitely not something I expected, but pretty good. As for what I've been watching, so for those who are video game fans, you will know that this week we're recording, I guess you wouldn't know it's coming out delayed. The week we're recording this is actually the week of E3, and since this is Wednesday, all the big shows have just finished, and Ryan, that's some pretty good games shown this year.
Oh, man. See, I personally tried to avoid E3 because the last E3 I watched, I ended up buying a PS4 and promising to buy many a game. But what, pray tell, did they show at E3 this year, Aaron?
Alright, so I have a top 10 list here. I'm going to keep it very brief for the first 2 entries. First up, what's the name? The guys who made The Witcher are doing Cyberpunk 2077. They showed a trailer again. Still no release date, but it looks pretty good. No gameplay, so I'm not sold on it just yet. There's also a Gears of War game called Gears of War Tactics. I've never been a Gears of War fan, but it's XCOM-style gameplay with Gears of War, so I'm not complaining.
Huh.
It's for PC as well, not for Xbox, which is also very surprising.
Okay.
They showed some Soul Calibur 6, which is a series...
Yes.
I love Soul Calibur, and the designs of this one look very clean. Like, it looked like Soul Calibur 2 simplified, which I like. Soul Calibur 2 had the best character designs, I think.
Absolutely buying that. I can't wait to get at the character creator, boy.
It looks pretty good. It looks so polished. Another fighting game, or just presumably a fighting game, that really got my attention was Jump Force. Have you heard about this one yet, Ryan?
Boy. I did see the trailer on that. I'm kind of meh. The animation looks a little odd.
Well, so here's my thing. Dragon Ball FighterZ I have not gotten into yet. I do want to try it at some point, but it's not like a priority. I played many a Naruto fighting game, and I've never played a One Piece game, so I'm down to try at least something with One Piece in it. But the cool thing is, at the end of the trailer, they have Kira and Ryuk from Death Note. For anyone who's a big manga anime fan, which I guess the next season we'll hear all about that.
Of course.
But, so just seeing Death Note characters in a fucking action game is weird, and I want to see how that plays out, so I'm excited.
I'll definitely keep my ears open for that one, especially for, like, seeing people from Death Note. It makes me think that, it's not just gonna be the big three from Shonen Jump, so... as I see more of it, I might get more interested in it. But as of right now, I'm like, it's a fun idea.
So curious, before I move on, is there any shonen characters that you know of that I'm not thinking of that you'd be interested in seeing in there? I can think of maybe JoJo making it in there. That'd be kind of fun.
JoJo, yeah, JoJo could be in there. I would be very surprised if we didn't see anybody from Bleach show up.
Yeah. Oh no, Ichigo's going to be in there for sure. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Because they,
I would.
No, go ahead.
I would love to see, and I'm not sure if they're exactly from Shonen Jump, but they definitely would fit the style. I would love to see Saitama from One Punch Man, and I would love to see anybody from My Hero Academia.
I think
Boku no Hero.
I think My Hero might make it in there, but I was gonna say, so I think Bleach might be an issue because I think when Bleach stopped running in the Shonen Jump magazine, I think it was because of creator disputes between the creator and the company. So I don't know if that will play. I don't know if that would play into it or not. I'd love to hear more about that, though.
No.
All right, I got 6 more here real quick, rapid fire. Yakuza games, Yakuza 0 and Yakuza Kiwami are coming to the PC. I don't know if that's major news, but I want to play these, and getting them cheap on the PC would actually be kind of cool. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Because think of all the fucking weird mods you get for those games. It'd be great. Spider-Man for the PS4.
Yes, absolutely buying that one.
There's a reason it's lower on my list than the top 3. It was almost up there, though. But it's Arkham with Spider-Man in it, and from the trailer, it looks like you're basically following the Arkham beats for the most part at the start. I really hope Mysterio's in there as like a Scarecrow kind of character, because I'd be down for that shit. Number 4 is a tie between Metal Wolf Chaos XD, a remaster of a From Software game by Devolver Digital, and Daemon X Machina, which is another mech-based game exclusively for the Switch, which is like cel-shaded and stylized. I put both the mech games here because they both look really cool. One's just a remake of an old game that is a cult favorite, and the other one is just like fucking baller looking. You should definitely check out Daemon X Machina, Ryan. I think you'd dig it.
Oh, man. Alright.
Next up, number 3, the obligatory Smash Ultimate. The trailer looked good.
Yeah.
They have every fighter in the world there except no Waluigi. Fuck Nintendo for not doing that one. Goddamn. I have a lot of questions about the game, such as the single-player modes and other features, but I'm sure they'll announce all that before December. It comes out this December. I'm excited. It's gonna be great. I will get a Switch this year, Ryan. I promise you that.
Yeah. I'm gonna be on my Switch apparently for the end of this year. I'm gonna be on my Switch a lot apparently.
The top 2 the number 2 surprised me a little bit. Devil May Cry 5.
Bro, what?
I didn't expect it to be out I didn't expect them to show a trailer. I didn't expect to see it, and then there it is. I'm like, oh man, more Bayonetta level action. I'm down. Let's do it. Bring it on.
Okay, so I played Devil May Cry 4, and it wasn't like amazing. Have you played Devil May Cry 4?
So I'm gonna level with you, Ryan. I have never played a Devil May Cry game. I've seen bits and pieces. It looks interesting. Okay. But I played a lot of Bayonetta. I know the developers are not the same, but they share a lot of similar DNA, so to speak. I'm very curious to see if DMC5 takes any of the stuff Bayonetta has made very good for the character action genre and applies it to what they do. I'm very curious to see if they do that.
you sound a little more optimistic than I. I'll wait to see what people think of it, but nah.
I'm excited. Number one, obviously, for those who know me, Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. There was nothing else that could have been. It's the new From Software ninja game that looks really good. You have a grappling hook that you can jump around in places. You can fight big Japanese monsters. It looks so sick. I'm down for this.
Wait, so you mean to tell me it's you mean to tell me it's Dark Souls meets Just Cause 2?
Just Cause 2 set in ancient Japan.
Oh, fuck. Alright. That might be nonsensical. Okay.
But no, it looks really good. There's actually some plot they detailed in the trailer, but it's still kind of Dark Souls-y, where it's like not straightforward, so I can't really tell what's going on 100%. But it looks like, from what I've seen in the gameplay analysis video from the trailer, someone really went into full detail. It looks like it focuses more on parrying, whereas the other two games that they've done, Bloodborne being more about dodging and dashing, and Dark Souls being more about blocking, this game's going to be very finesse-driven and very difficult, I think, in terms of just mastering that technique down. But I'm excited to try it out. It looks fun.
Alright.
And for those who are wondering who, quote-unquote, won E3 this year, I don't think anyone really won. No individual presentation was overall the greatest, but I think that individual games in each presentation stood out to be really good. So, overall, good E3. Not the best, but I think it was definitely a solid B+.
Alright.
Alright, that's our video game segment of the movie podcast. So let's talk about movies again.
Hey, that was all me last time, so that it's okay.
No, I know. I'm not gonna mince words, Ryan. I would love to do a game podcast again, but we need Patreon money to help support that, so I can quit my job and find time to make stuff like that. Hint, hint.
That is
hint,
quite
hint.
real. That is quite real, y'all.
So if y'all want to hear more of me talk about video games, which are amazing and fun, and have time to actually make shows about that, please donate to our Patreon page, patreon.com/evexstation, and that'll be one of the first things we do, because I would love to get back into that again.
Oh man, a live, some recording of us playing some Splatoon on the Switch.
That'd be pretty sick.
We could still do it. Like one day we could pull it off.
We could. So Ryan, this week we're doing Matrix Reloaded. So before I get into the notes and accolades, would you mind informing the audience why you've chosen this one as your favorite movie?
So, it's interesting. I personally loved the entirety of the Matrix trilogy. It happened at a really formative time in my life, and it struck a chord between, holy shit, this is awesome, young Ryan, and gets you really thinking about what reality is and reconciling the ideals of my faith. The whole trilogy manages to encompass some really interesting questions that got me thinking about it at a young age. So I picked Reloaded because the first movie is pretty well contained in and of itself, and it does a lot of work setting up the setting, creating the setting of the story, and the Matrix Revolutions really just ties everything up. Reloaded is where they get into the meat of the big questions about life and reality. So yeah.
All right. I do have some questions for you about this, but before we get to that, let me go over some important background information for everybody.
Let's get it.
So this week's episode, as I detailed already, is about Matrix Reloaded, the sequel to the much more critically acclaimed Matrix. I'm putting the information out there.
It's fair, it's true, it's very accurate.
It was released in 2003 and has grossed a total of $742,128,000 worldwide. That includes re-releases. It features notable actors such as Keanu Reeves, Hugo Weaving, Lawrence Fishburne, and Carrie-Anne Moss. While nominated for many awards, it did end up winning a Teen Choice Awards for Drama and Action Adventure, a VES Award for Best Single and Most Outstanding Visual Effects, and a Golden Schmo, unfortunately, for Most Overrated and Most Disappointing alongside Matrix Revolutions. which was released 6 months later, which is one of the few films that actually did the whole fast release sequel. I think it was Pirates of the Caribbean that did it afterward, I think. As a fun fact, General Motors donated 300 cars to the production of this film, all of which were destroyed by the end of the movie.
God damn it.
I thought that was really good. I like that.
That was good.
All right, Ryan, so let's get some initial thoughts out of the way. So, obviously, it's your favorite, but you want to give us some color in your thoughts a bit before we get to the synopsis here?
Well, so like you said, the first movie was definitely the most like critically acclaimed and beloved of the trilogy. A lot of people thought that the other two movies were a bit superfluous, and the last movie was kind of rushed in order to kind of tie everything in a bow, which are fair criticisms, but these movies have a special place near and dear to my heart. Like I said, they happened at a formative age for me, and I love the shit. And I can talk about the Matrix story for hours, but we'll definitely condense it for today. So, in short, I love this shit.
Oh no, I hear you. I'm the same way with movies like Jurassic Park and with the Avatar series, not the movie. Let's make sure we're all same page there.
Yeah, let's clarify.
Yep.
Fucking Shyamalan.
As for myself, I will admit I was a bit confused at times because I had to. So prior to this movie, I better give a bit of a context here. Amanda and I watched I guess you could call it a recap video on YouTube to save some time so you can kind of keep track of what happened in the first movie.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
And it gave us basically the rundown of the plot. It was adequate for the most part. But watching this movie, I was a bit confused at times, a bit hyped at times. Obviously, there's a lot of good, exciting moments, and I was a bit disappointed at other times. By no means do I think this movie is overall bad, but I do certainly have questions that we'll get to after the synopsis here because I'm very. Yep. Go ahead. I was
just gonna say I cannot wait to talk about like where you felt confused and where you were a bit disappointed, because I don't get to talk about this movie like at all, and hearing differentiating opinions on this is going to be really fun for me.
Well, and I will say for sure that when I first saw the first Matrix as a kid, I was definitely confused because I was a fucking stupid kid, so I had no idea what was going on. And then for some reason my dad didn't let me watch the second movie, but he's like, you can watch the third movie with me. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I was so fucking confused by him. I'm like, what the fuck happened? What's going on?
You missed like 80% of the story with missing the second movie.
Eventually, when I was older, and again when I was still living with them and still like whatever, I eventually was able to see the third movie when I was with them, and I'm like, okay, that gave us more context, but I'm like, still, what the fuck happened? So, yeah, my history with it's weird. So this refreshing look back at it is definitely something that I am not disappointed with at all. I think it's definitely worth checking out. So.
Was it the rave scene that they were like, kids probably should see
I'm pretty sure that played into it a bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this week, everybody, we have a special surprise for you. Since this is Ryan's favorite movie, he has volunteered to do the synopsis this week.
Oh, God.
I gave it a read. I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised. Ryan, I'll leave the floor to you.
Oh, man. All right.
Make sure you drink some water beforehand.
Yeah, ooh, yeah, let me take a sip.
Because that's rough on your throat. Trust me, I've been there.
All right. Let me channel my inner Aaron here. The movie opens up on our pro-female gamer waltzing into an instance and wiping the floor with some mobs with sick leather kung fu action. After a stylized loading screen, we see her busting out of an office window, spraying bullets at the random world boss she accidentally pulled that won't let her go. She takes a seemingly fatal shot to the chest before hitting the ground, but surprise! It's actually our fearless protag that was having a weird dream.
Whoa.
They seem to be a common occurrence. Ever since he beat the last main quest boss and unlocked spooky messiah hacks as a quest reward. So, Protag, Female Pro, and the King of Dreams go to an in-game meeting of the other players who are talking about an IRL meetup to help protect, their actual home. But Morpheus knows the quest giver is from the main storyline, is gonna show up really soon, so he asks somebody to stay and watch while they recharge their rig. The meeting is interrupted by more world bosses, but Protag Man uses those Messiah hacks to make short work of them, and everybody logs off for the day. Everybody takes a little time offline to enjoy real life for a short spell, with intense conversations, grimy cave raids, and family time. Can't you hear that bass? Yeah. Meanwhile, the main quest boss from the last game has connived a way to copy himself onto other characters, including PCs.
Hacks.
And
I call hacks.
It's all hacks. It's all hacks. God damn it. It's bogus. But he manages to infiltrate the IRL setting to take out Protag Man when he least expected. Hey, chill out, bro. It's just a game. The player that stayed behind shows up IRL to let Protag know that the quest givers finally spawned and actually sent for him. He logs back in and has a heart-to-heart with this NPC that seems to know more about real life than most people, the most real people, and goes on about the nature of choice and free will when predestination is actually a thing, before finally giving him the next main quest point. Go see this bad guy to free this NPC, and they'll give you a key to the main boss room, yada yada yada. She leaves, and then this freaking old boss shows up, wielding those secret copy hacks, and engages Messiah Boy in a pretty epic slobber knocker before the unbeatable player has to dip, lest his perfect record get trashed. So they head to the quest marker and meet with a smarmy NPC that goes, yeah, I've got the next plot point and you can't have it, before sauntering off. The NPC's wife, however, offers up said plot point if Protag Man will engage in some light cybering with her for a spell, much to the chagrin of Female Pro who's dating Protag IRL. Said cybering ensues, and said plot point is given before mass battle breaks out in Cityscape during a hectic escape scene. The Keymaker, the plot point, gives the next part of the quest, which includes a 3-part raid that has to be done simultaneously. Luckily, 2 other teams ditched IRL duties to play with the King of Dreams, so they have just enough to run the raid.
As you do.
Meanwhile, as you do, as one does, of course, you have to skip out on, defending your home to go play this game.
Work, family, children, your pets, that neighbor who keeps asking you to mow their lawn, it's all overrated. Just forget all that and play games. That's all you do.
Fuck all that. Get to the raid. We gotta get these loots. So, Protag Man, his dreams are still spooking the hell out of him, so he asks his lady friend to sit this one out with no specifics given. She, being understanding AF, agrees. And they start the raid, but IRL ambushes take out one of the teams. Understanding Gamer Girl jumps in to pick up the slack and help, and things start unfolding vis-a-vis the Protag's spooky dreams. Dun dun dun. Despite the meddling of that pesky old boss, the Protag finally makes it to the final boss room, who reveals that the whole game has been building to a mass reset of the story, rather than any real ending.
It's all a lie, I knew it!
Shittiest plot twist ever.
I mean, at least the cake's not a lie.
Yeah, surprisingly, there was no fucking cake.
Oh, there should have been.
There should have been. I expected some chicken since he looked like fucking Colonel Sanders. Anyway, he also rubs in the fact that Gamer Girl logged on to help him get to this room despite his request. So now he must choose whether to go through with the reset or to save Gamer Girl. Doing so, of course, will glitch out the system and wipe every non-guild PC's account. In his only real choice and option, he chooses to save Gamer Girl, not selfish at all, by the way, and pushes his Messiah hacks to the max to bring her back from PC death. Hooray! Except for the fact that now the game is glitched out, everybody who wasn't in guilds IRL has had their accounts wiped, and they still haven't figured out what to do about the IRL fight that's coming up. They log out and start running, since IRL machines came to kill them while they were logged on, and Protag Man manages to fuck them up with Messiah hacks. IRL! What? sends him into Coma Land, leaving everybody scratching their heads, wondering how the hell we're going to tie all this up in the next movie. I mean, in the next quest line.
Get up for Ryan, everybody. Get up for Ryan. Ryan, get up for him.
It's really hard to be funny on command. I'm good conversationally funny, but damn it.
I was gonna say you did good. You did good for your first attempt. If anyone likes Ryan's synopsis here, please leave comments. I'd love to hear more people push for that and say, "Yo, Ryan, keep it up." Because not that I don't mind doing it, but I wouldn't mind switching off every now and then. You know, give someone else a chance to breathe.
No, because if everybody starts asking for me, then I'll have to do it more. God damn.
See, all you gotta do, Ryan, is just write it ahead of time and just get a very hype man kind of voice going. It's not too tough once you get the hang of it.
Lord have mercy.
So speaking of glitching out the game, though, I gotta tell you, the closest I've ever gotten to glitching out the Matrix was what game was it? It was Saints Row 4, I believe. Where I died, spawned back in the world, but for some reason I spawned inside a building, but then my character fell through the world. I kept falling over and over again, and every time I tried,
I love when that happens.
And every time I tried to restart, it would get me back to the falling state where I was just falling through the world. I'm like, okay, so I am never going to be able to finish it from here. Let's just turn the whole thing off and try again.
I've actually seen, if you watch speedruns, any percent speedruns, a lot of it involves them, literally glitching through the game and, clipping into the undercurrents of the map so that you go from, the first level to the last level by walking in, fucking weird, blocky, cubism landscapes.
My favorite one of those, actually, is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So, apparently you can glitch yourself into the Spider Goma room, or you get yourself into the Spider Goma room with the first, dungeon, and then somehow you glitch yourself out through a door to enter into Ganon's tower. And it's just fucking bonkers from there. I'm like, how the hell does anyone know how to do this?
God damn it.
I tried doing it myself once, and I couldn't do it, because I'm not skilled. But anyway, so, Matrix.
Alright, so now that the synopsis has been nicely wrapped up, and we'll switch it around since it's usually me, but Aaron, what did you think of this movie?
Okay. So, again, to clarify, I didn't see the first movie ahead of time before this one. I'd seen it in years past, but I haven't seen it recently. And I obviously didn't watch the third one yet, because I got a plate full of other shit to watch. But, so, you definitely, as an outsider jumping into this, you definitely get that feeling of you're getting the middle of everything. You're not really getting the beginning or the end. You're getting just this middle chapter here. So, the beginning, for the most part, isn't bad. You definitely can pick up what's going on, and since we watched the recap, it helped us kind of color what we needed to know getting into it. But once you get to the end, though, the ending just feels so, abrupt and sudden, everything just cuts right there. I'm like, oh, it's over already. What? They're not going to give us some kind of closure for this? What's going on here? So it was definitely a jarring end to me when I got to the end of that movie.
That's fair. That's very fair. I think a lot of the second and third movies were filmed simultaneously.
I believe I read that, yeah.
Do that, so they could do that quick, 6-month turnaround. And I think they keyed the ending to be especially abrupt, so everybody's like, well, what the fuck happens next? And then they'll be like, hey, 6 months, we got this next movie coming out. So, it was partially a marketing scheme and partially just the plot that the Wachowskis wanted to set. So, yeah.
And it reminds me of the structure they have for Infinity War we just did recently, where it stops in the middle of a story, and I feel like the ending for Infinity War glides, it decelerates to a point where it feels like a natural stop. Whereas we're at Reloaded, it feels like things are just ramping up, and all of a sudden we get cut off there. And I can see the complaints people are making about Infinity War, but I feel like they apply more to Reloaded in the sense that it feels like we're not getting that complete ending. I get that's what they were doing here. I'm not going to criticize them for that, because I get that that's the picture they wanted to paint there. But for me personally, it's one of those moments where it's I want to know more, and I feel like you guys are holding out on telling me more here. What the fuck?
Yeah. It definitely feels more like they're intentionally hitting you with the cliffhanger, as opposed to Infinity War, where the story naturally builds to this moment, and then they lose, and the story ends on them like really settling into the fact that they lost. But like it's a shitty end, and you want to know what happens next, but it feels like an end.
It feels like
so I see what you're saying.
It feels like, okay, that happened. I can breathe for a moment, and I don't have to worry about this just yet because they're gonna get to it here soon. Krusty is coming. Anyway, I love using that line whenever I can. Okay, so I do have some questions for you, Ryan. Since you are the
fire away,
you are my Matrix expert, so you can help me figure this out here. So first off, going back to that question about the sex rave, what was up with that sex rave?
Honestly, that's just the weird part. And honestly, that's
okay.
Odd.
Well, I just remember watching. I remember watching it. I look over to Amanda. I'm like, "What the fuck's going on here?"
I mean, the Wachowskis are very experimental when it comes to exploring sexuality in their films. If you have not checked out Sense8, I love Sense8. I absolutely adore Sense8, and they got two seasons out of their planned like 5, and then it was canceled. But there was such a backlash from the community towards Netflix that Netflix gave them a 2.5-hour season finale so that they could wrap everything up.
Gotcha.
Which was awesome. But tangent aside, sexuality is a thing for the Wachowskis, so it's not amazingly surprising when you're familiar with their body of work that they gotta throw some sex in there. They just gotta.
I get you. It was just such a jarring scene from everything we'd seen prior to that I was like just thrown away by like what was going on there. It was just
no. It definitely comes out of left field, especially because you don't get that like at all in the original Matrix. You really don't.
No. I recall the first movie being a very stiff affair without any sexual tension going on. So the second one just going straight into the horn dogginess. I'm like, oh, okay, you guys are really, really thirsty for this shit. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Next question I got here. So I don't remember what it was like at the time when the movie was released. So I'll get your frame of reference here. So when they revealed the Oracle was actually a part of the Matrix, like she was a program, was that considered a surprise back then? Because to me, I don't remember what it was like when that was first revealed to me. All I can remember is that it seemed like it made sense to me when I was told. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not really a shock. I can follow that. That makes sense. She seems to know everything. Why wouldn't she be a program?
Right. I think so. When I watched it originally, I was all of 13, didn't really know shit. So it was one of those twists where I didn't see it coming, but the instant it was said, I'm like, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Okay, so I'm not entirely alone there. Okay.
Right. I think the bigger twist in the movie when it comes to the Oracle is the fact that she was integral in creating the working version of the Matrix, rather than just, oh, she's a program.
Fair enough. I guess I'll skip then to my next question that ties to the creating of the Matrix. So number 6 here, I'll have to remember to go back to 3.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. So I remember Matrix 1 enough to know that when Morpheus explains his level of understanding of the Matrix to Neo, he uses pretty layman's terms, which helps the audience kind of, grasp what's going on. I'm like, okay, we get this. And back then, computers were still a newer technology to the casual audience, so a lot of the stuff happening here probably was over the heads of the layman audience, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So, why in this movie did the writers feel the need to give the architect such a dense vocabulary of $10 words to try to explain what the hell's going on to the people in this movie?
I think that I completely understand where you're coming from. I personally love hearing language used like that, so when that whole exchange happened, I was just like on the edge of my seat, just like kind of absorbing everything. I think the decision to make that was essentially to really get across just how not human this dude is. Like, he is like the machine of machines, you know, like he is the core programmer, and having him like use language so far removed from like how we've heard humans converse, and even like I think it was a creative decision made to separate, like essentially widen the distance between Neo and the architect, between humanity and between really humanity and the machines, because when you look at his interactions with the known programs, like the Oracle talks like a normal fucking person, but it makes sense when you consider that she is the one that is essentially responsible for humanity getting the programming. Seraph talks a little oddly, who is her protector. Mm-hmm. The Merovingian is just an asshole, but I mean, you can see how like the use of language kind of separates them and like really widens the distance when you're not talking to a person right now. This is a computer program, so that's what I think.
No, I hear you, and I'm looking at other references. Well, okay, so I was reading a bit about the movie after I'd watched it, seeing all the different critiques and different thoughts of the movie, because I'm like, okay, I don't have enough knowledge of this franchise to give it a proper analysis. Let me read what other people have said and kind of glean what they're thinking and put my own thoughts in and see what comes out. And I definitely kind of feel what most of the critics were saying in regards to the architect's general character, where I definitely feel like he overcomplicates the message of the film a bit. And I get that might be, you know, what the fans of this film, in particular, like you in particular, find appealing about the character. But I do think that to get general audiences to follow along with what's going on, it might be a bit much. And I think that going for something a little simpler, like, and just a toss in the dark here, but Data from Star Trek Next Generation, clearly a machine, and they do very simple mannerisms and very simple ways of acting and communicating to convey that he is definitely more machine than man. And something as simple as that could have easily, I think, gone over with audiences. Like, okay, we get he's not real. We get he's totally a robot. So I think it was definitely simpler as they could have addressed that. But I do respect the idea that they did go for some very dense vocabulary, because it makes it's kind of like having like a secret language or a secret code in video games, where you've got to like figure out what the code is and then try to deduce what the code means. That's kind of what it is here almost, where it's like a dense language that no one understands. So you have to figure out what the words are first, and then break down what each word means to figure out the full context of what's being said. So for people who are really into that kind of stuff, I could totally understand why they get that. Hell, that's the whole Five Nights at Freddy's franchise right there, trying to figure out the little clues from all these little subtle details everywhere. But at the same time, not every audience person's gonna follow along with that, I don't think.
That's fair. No, that's definitely a fair critique. I personally like the deeper layer of storytelling that the language use gets into, because when you think about like the meat of that conversation, the architect is explaining why this a being bound by the parameters of perfection, in his own words, kept creating versions of the Matrix that everybody rejected, that the human test subjects like would just fucking like kill themselves in, and he realized that the answer was that he had to add something less bound by perfection, less like less himself. It couldn't, like, you can't, it's almost like humanity can't interface directly with the architect because there's such an immeasurable distance between the two of them, which is why the Oracle had to come in and help make it palatable.
It's almost like it's all an allegory for something.
Yeah. That gets to a bigger kind of, not necessarily a critique, but just like the idea that the last two movies of this franchise didn't do as well as the first one. I definitely see it because The first one was definitely made to appeal to a larger audience. The basic, like the basis of like the deeper like conversation pieces that they want to talk about, they're all in the first movie, but it's primarily action and ridiculous cyberpunk crazy nonsense and sci-fi and just ridiculousness that could appeal to a large crowd. It's only in the last two movies that they start telling the story they really want to tell, which isn't really palatable for everybody. So I definitely see where you're coming from.
Of course. Let's see, I had a question related to that. I guess you answered my question 4 then, which is, why do you think this film gets a little more flack than the first film? And I think you kind of summed it up right there a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add to that then, I guess? Or do you want me to move on to the next one?
No, I mean I think that's my understanding of it. I mean it's like I said, it speaks to me. I mean, I personally love the shit that they're talking about, and I love crazy ass uses of language. I love hearing it. It sounds like amazing music to me.
No, I get you. Okay, so I guess the next one here, let me jump around a bit. So I'm not clear as to so I haven't seen the third movie in a long ass time, so you have to bear with me on this. Has it ever been confirmed the world outside the Matrix is just another layer of this fake reality, or is this still up for debate? Because I've seen people claim that is the case, and I've seen other people dismiss that. I'm not sure what the consensus is here.
I've never really asked that question or heard that question, so that's interesting. I personally don't believe that to be the case. I think the real world is the real world. That setup question is, but it was never really like the idea that the real world is just another layer of the Matrix is never really definitively answered yes or no in the third one.
So this was brought up in a video I saw fairly recently. I'm not sure how I came across it, but the conversation was kind of in the direction of, so you have the red pill and the blue pill, and as you remember from the first movie, the blue pill puts you back in the Matrix, so to speak. You just are in the program, you've accepted it, you are within this digital world as long as you want to be there. Correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the red pill, theoretically, takes you out of the Matrix and brings you into the real world. Now, according to this video, the theory is that the red pill takes you to the next level of the Matrix. It's claimed to be reality, but in truth, the Matrix, or the designers of the Matrix, have built this other layer to act as like this catch-all for people who escape that first layer of the Matrix, to trap them in there, where they have to struggle through that. And I don't remember all the details of the video, but they really went into some fun, like, theorizing about it. I'm like, this is a very interesting concept. If this is further explored, I might actually be a little down for this. This is a really fun idea.
That's interesting. That definitely is interesting. My counter argument to that would be that if that was indeed the case, then there would be no real reason to destroy Zion. Like there would be no real reason to like initiate the reset. Granted, it is like brought up the fact that essentially 99% of humanity accepts the programming of the Matrix, and that the idea of the prophecy and the one was built in as a measure of control to control the remaining 1% that didn't. So I don't think that it's another layer of the Matrix, but rather they have referenced the one as essentially the control factor for the people that escape the Matrix and want to fuck their shit up.
Gotcha. I'll have to find that video and show it to you, because I want to hear your thoughts when you actually see the full argument, because I gotta remember who said that one, because I don't remember who, but okay.
Yeah, send me that shit. I would definitely dig checking that out.
Okay, next question. So this is where my disappointment comes in a bit. And,
let's do it.
And again, it ties into movie 3, if you can answer this one for me. So, do they explore the concept of those glitches and abnormal programs, like the werewolves and the ghost people and such? Because this film, they bring it up as a conversation topic. And then you see the two twins that all go ghosty for a bit, but it's never really explored beyond that. And when I first heard that, I'm thinking to myself, man, wouldn't that be cool if the third movie was just fucking Neo fighting off werewolves and monsters the whole time, and just fucking kicking ass against, like, dragons and shit? That'd be so baller.
So I will burst your bubble a little bit. Neo never fights werewolves or dragons, unfortunately. What they do explore, however, is the concept of the exiles, because, like, the idea of, like, crazy-ass programs that you hear doing crazy shit would be the people that are, the programs that are facing deletion and decided to hide in the Matrix rather than get deleted. So, in the third movie, you get to explore the concept and, like, meet more exiles, and ironically, they're actually programs that essentially seem more human than not, because of the fact that they have, like, crazy powers or shit, but that they have real human wants and desires. Like, you see okay, now this is, when did you watch Reloaded?
I watched, you mean the movie we just saw, right? I saw that.
Yeah, the movie we just saw.
I want to say last week.
Okay. So it's like all of 3 seconds. So if you don't remember it, I will not fault you, because I didn't remember it until I watched it like the fourth or so time. But do you remember when they're coming into the restaurant to speak with the Merovingian, and before they get there, they escort an Indian-looking man away from the table?
I feel like if you showed it to me, I'd be like, yeah, I remember that, but I don't recall 100% now.
Like I said, it's all of 3 seconds, so it's entirely missable. But in the third movie, you meet that guy. What you find out is that he is an exile who made a deal with the Merovingian to hide his daughter, who is a program that honestly wasn't supposed to have a purpose, but he created her with his wife because they were in love and they wanted to have a kid. And he made a deal with the Merovingian to hide his little girl in the Matrix, whom you also meet. So they explore that concept. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah, but no, I remember reading about that, and then I saw the movie, and that reminded me again of the ghosts and monsters and shit. I'm like, man, that'd be such a cool, like, spin-off idea, even. Just, like, a spin-off Matrix movie where you just fight monsters and werewolves. It'd be so sick.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is that when the idea of, like, the werewolves showing up in, like, the second movie is pretty funny, because when Persephone is taking them to meet the Keymaker, and she kills that one dude to, like, scare the other one into go telling the Merovingian what she did. Like, it's, like, just the reference is, like, my husband kept them because they're notoriously difficult to terminate. I mean, how many people keep silver bullets in their gun?
That was a reference I caught. I like that, yeah.
These guys are werewolves! Fuck him, he's dead.
It would have been so much cooler if they transformed then, but I get it. That wasn't the focus. I get it. Okay. Last question on my discussion list here. So, at my age, and at my level of cynicism, Ryan, I actually sympathize with the minor character we come to know as Commander Locke. A little bit more than anyone else. And I feel bad, because he's such a forgettable character in the grand scheme of things, compared to everyone else we've seen. Well, hear me out. So I would be with him in questioning the rationale and believing in the religious-like prophecy, and I wonder why that wasn't explored deeper into the film, like just this concept of this religious following to Neo versus this more, I guess you could call it pragmatic approach that Locke wants to go with. They address it in like maybe a scene and a half, and then they never really keep up with it, which I'm like, that would be an interesting conflict within the human race, because while the machine versus humans is definitely the primary conflict, you gotta know that in this post-apocalyptic scenario, like every other post-apocalyptic scenario, humans would be fighting humans still. It would still happen. And this would be a focal point for that too.
Mm. Well, so I think the general conceit of this movie is, or like one of the general conceit of this setting is that the ever looming threat of the machines is so prominent that the idea of like humans actually banding together to fight other humans is like not even in anybody else's mind, because at any point in time a bunch of squid fucking machines can come up and rip you to pieces just for the fuck of it. So that being said, they do kind of play into the idea of like the people who believe versus the people who don't believe. I think it keeps from building out into like an all-out conflict because they're both trying to do what's best for humanity and like to save everybody, and it never really goes to direct conflict where like in order to get our shit done we have to directly attack the guys who actually believe that this shit's gonna happen. That never is brought up in the movie, and it never happens in the story. But see, I think it's because a lot of the presiding council of humanity actually believes, like whether or not they can come out and say it. Yeah, whether or not they can come out and straight say it, like I think like the overall like consensus is that, well, Morpheus was sounding like a crazy dude, but then he actually found the Messiah. So,
but see,
yeah.
but see, I would be in Locke's corner. I'd be like, listen, just because Morpheus says he's the Messiah doesn't necessarily mean it. I mean, it could be a whole number of things that's going on there. Now, I get that we see Neo do the shit ourselves as the audience, so. Yes, he is the Messiah, but as a person in that world who like is in the same kind of mindset as Locke, I totally get where he's coming from. And I said, I would want to see it explored a bit more, but that's just my personal preference, just because I'm the skeptical kind of asshole I am.
No, it's real. I think a crowning achievement of this movie is that both sides are not like neither side is entirely wrong. Neither side is like completely unreasonable. Like, you understand that Morpheus believes the way he believes because he found the guy. And he's like literally when Neo hacked it, like popped into his powers, literally every questioning moment in Morpheus's life was rewarded because he found him. He had fulfilled his purpose. Whereas Locke, whom you can tell, I'm pretty sure he doesn't actually have ports. So he's like homegrown human, has probably never been to the Matrix, and is like rooted and grounded in reality. So if you tell him that the humanity salvation is this dude that's essentially really, really good at an MMORPG, he's gonna be like, you're a fucking moron, go man the gunship.
So he's like a baby boomer whenever someone's like, oh hey, that millennial just made $1 million on YouTube.
Yeah, he's like fuck you, go man the gunship. We have to worry about the actual machines that are about to show up.
He's like, fuck you, go get a real job.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are all my discussion questions. I do want to bring up a few positive notes, though. Number one, the action scenes, still good, still great. Well made. Maybe a bit too actiony overall, and not enough focus on the story, I don't think. But all the action beats are still fun. They're all still good. Also, a shout out to the cast in general. I think the diversity of this cast is surprisingly robust. Like, looking at movies like the Marvel movies we just did, which are just starting to get a more diverse cast going on in the more recent films. It's kind of shocking that a film back in 2003 had this many like different races and cultures and people all just in the same film. It was ridiculous.
Again, shout out to the Wachowskis. Like they made that they make diversity and representation a thing in all of their movies. So yeah.
It's just refreshing to look at it because like we said in previous movies that we talked about, just the idea that there's a lot of white actors out there who get all the roles and not a lot of actors of any minority who get any of the major roles. It's just refreshing to see it because it just means more jobs for more people and not the same, 5 people. So, kudos.
Absolutely.
All right, so next, Ryan, is there anything you wanted to add before I move on to the next segment?
Well, I had a quick question. It won't be a quick question.
Of course.
It's just so as a young kid, the conversation between Neo and the Oracle, where he kind of makes a brief aside, asking, if you already know what's going to happen, how can I have a choice of what happens? Of course, I didn't understand, the full grasp of what he was asking, but he essentially just put the debate of predestination versus free will, how can they exist? And she said just this simple answer that just kind of blew my fucking mind. It was you didn't come here to make the choice. You've already made it. You're here to understand why you made it. And it's just, it blew my mind. So I guess my discussion question is, where do you fall in kind of the spectrum of the ideal between free choice, predestination, things like that?
So this discussion's come quite a bit recently in the stuff I've been listening to. I listened to a Wisecrack podcast about Inside Out, and they were discussing the whole concept of free will with the emotions and shit. We'll get into that in another video because that's a fun conversation.
Ooh, okay.
But so I've been thinking to discuss this particular question from many movies and film and stuff. I don't remember the first time it came up for me. I want to say it might have been back in the old anime days of, say, the first season of Avatar and stuff like that, where it talks about destiny and fate and all that stuff, and basically, do we decide our own fate? Do we choose do we actually have a choice of what we do, or is it all predestination, like you're saying? And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be that contrarian who doesn't really answer your question by saying I think it's a bit of both. I think.
Oh no, I'm just joking.
I know. I'm one of those people, guys. But no. I think that on a philosophical level, that I think the choices that are given to us are predetermined, and the choices we make are the ones that are free will. So, a good example, I guess, is look at The Walking Dead, for example. All the choices in the game are given to you are predetermined choices. You're given an option to feed these different people or to go to these different things. They're all predetermined based on the programming of the game. But the choice you make at those particular moments are the choices you make. You can do whatever you want, but the fact of the matter is that choice given to you is predetermined. So I'm thinking it's a bit of both. I think the events that come up in your life, regardless of what happens, is going to be how things go. And the matter in choosing what you do at those events is all free will, but it's those events that occur that I think are all predetermined based on all the choices you made before leading you to there. If you catch my drift.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. That's very interesting.
I like to straddle the line, Ryan. It's a fun hobby of mine.
It's fine. No, it's fine. I mean, personally, my opinion on this was shaped by this movie. It was the first time that I had really thought about it. And it's interesting because I come from a very religious family. My dad is a minister, so I came up in the church from a very young age. And the idea that, God's got your story written out all the way and it's going to work out for your good. You just have to keep trying to make the best choice and keep trying to be the best person and to affect the best change in the world that you can. And this movie was the first really cool questioning of my faith that I had ever really experienced. And it was very formative in how I thought about it. And the idea that just because you know how something is going to happen doesn't take the choice out of the equation, I think personally. I think it is possible to know how things are going to turn out simply because the people in that point in time, at that point in their lives, in this situation, they are going to choose to make that choice. I don't think you're ever going to come to a moment. I don't think in real life those moments exist where they're like, oh yeah, no, you're supposed to meet this person and you're going to answer yes to this question regardless of how you feel or anything else that happens to it. When you get to this point, you are just going to say yes regardless of your choice. I don't think that is a thing. I think it's possible to have something written out, but only because that's just how it naturally plays out. Like, with all choice taken into consideration, you make this choice at this point in time because everything in your life has led you to this choice, and because that's just the person you are, and you make that choice.
I'd love to see this discussion in a deeper context, but I know we're running a little long time.
I'm sorry. I can talk about this for hours.
I know. So I do want to bring up the fact, though, that one part of this that was brought up during that Inside Out podcast I was listening to is the concept of free choice. And one thing that got my attention that was the world around us is full of emotional manipulators, from TV shows to advertisements to everything. And the argument that was posed there, and we won't get into it too deep here because it's a whole other discussion, but I want to have you think about it for a little bit. While we're discussing this predetermination or predestination and free will, do we really have free will in a society where we are emotionally manipulated by media to the point where we are badgered to buy certain things or to cry at certain things because of what we see on the screen or what we hear on the radio? And how does that impact our free will exactly if it manipulates our emotions in such a way? And I think that's a very interesting discussion to get into at some point.
I almost want to talk to you for hours after we finish recording, because I can talk on that. That's very interesting. But we'll cut that down. Maybe we'll do another podcast on Inside Out when we hit the Pixar project.
Pixar's on my list right now because I love Pixar. It's so good. Okay. So I have a quick rapid fire trivia because I know we're running low on time here. But I had to do this real quick. So, Ryan, Matrix is a popular media thing. It's a popular franchise, so to speak. And as such, many different shows, movies, TV, comics, whatever, have referenced Matrix in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, boy.
Your trivia today, I'm going to give you the reference. You got to tell me what the reference is from.
Oh, shit. Oh, I'm going to fail this so goddamn hard. You're going to ask me so many questions about the movie, and I'd be good.
I know.
God damn it.
Want to make it challenging. So I'm going to give you a softball real quick. Number 4 on my list here. This movie is one of many that borrows the slow-motion spin camera while frozen in the air kung fu kick. What made this surprising is that it didn't come from the title character, but the woman he came to rescue. She couldn't help it, though. The men in tights were just that annoying. Shrek. Yep, you got one. You got one.
Fiona. Yep.
Okay, here we go. Here's the next one. This reference comes up twice in the series. It is a retirement home of sorts for those who are beyond 160 years old. When they arrive, they are strapped to machines to live a virtual fantasy of their own. In the second visit, we see the old folks being used in place of batteries. Quite literally.
Oh, shit. What? I don't know if I've seen this.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you have. Because I feel like you've referenced it at least once. Not this episode, but this show.
Over 160 years old?
Yep. The title of these episodes, I'll give you your second hint. The first episode is A Clone of My Own, and the second episode is Near Death Wish. If that helps.
What the hell?
I got a buddy of mine who's foaming at the mouth right now, just like, I know if he's listening, he'll be like, I know this, let me talk!
Fuck, okay, yeah, it's gonna kill me as soon as you say it, but yeah, what is it?
Futurama!
Ah, see, I actually have not watched Futurama.
I thought you had. Oh, I feel terrible now.
I've seen like random episodes. like very seldom random episodes. I have not watched the entirety of Futurama.
Okay, I think you might know this one. Possibly. In this Del Toro-directed piece, a fight within a subway mirrors a fight within the Matrix with a very similar flow. Said flow being fight in a subway, smashing into walls and pillars, telephone ringing, enemy hit by train.
Hellboy.
Yep, got it right there.
Yep.
This sitcom had an episode in 2003 where one of the supporting characters of the series stated, "The Matrix called, it wants its coats back."
I'm gonna just guess it's Community. That sounds like a Community thing.
Oh, you are incorrect, sir. It's actually Will and Grace.
I haven't seen Will and Grace either.
I have seen episodes recently, but I didn't know this reference. I just was looking on a site that had all the references. I'm like, oh, let's go with that one.
That's fair. This is a very interesting trivia question, like round of questioning.
All right, let's see. I think you might have seen this show. In the battle of heaven and hell, one PSP-obsessed young man is told the following: "We are outnumbered and in need of someone who can bring everyone down. Basically, blank, you are Keanu Reeves."
I don't know this one. Who is it? What is it?
They're talking to Kenny in South Park.
I didn't watch South Park, man.
Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Near the end of this really popular animated superhero show, our heroes are chasing a villain through different time periods. They end up at a rather famous hideout where the owner's supercomputer has a reverse Matrix rain effect on their computer screen.
If they're chasing them through time? Legends of Tomorrow?
That is incorrect, sir. Remember, it's an animated superhero show.
Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't hear animated. Sorry.
Yep, yeah, I'll give you a second chance.
Shit. Chasing them through time. Fuck. Damn, I don't know.
That was from the episode titled The Once and Future Thing. It's a duology, and it is an episode of the Justice League Unlimited.
Damn it, all of these things I haven't seen.
I thought you'd seen Justice League!
I don't watch things!
Well, I'm learning this very quickly. Okay, I'll do two more just to wrap it up. Okay, in this episode, titled The Ziff That Came to Dinner, this show features an episode with two Matrix visual gags. Two movie posters. One's called A Matrix Christmas, and the other is called You're in the Matrix, Charlie Brown. I don't think you'll get this one, but I thought it was a cute reference. So I just wanted to see if you could get it.
I'm gonna guess it's another Futurama reference. Isn't Ziff the green alien that was dating the Asian girl?
You are so close it hurts.
God damn it!
So the alien's named Kif. The show you wanted to guess is the Futurama sister show, The Simpsons.
God damn it! Rage, Matt Groening. Why?
All right, last one. I don't know if you're going to get this one, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Enter the Dominatrix. This planned DLC for the third game in this franchise was eventually expanded into a full game, and it would have featured the player fighting in a computer world, much like the Matrix, against a figure known as the Dominatrix.
Yeah, what? I am going to guess Saints Row.
You are absolutely right.
Yeah, that sounds like a Saints Row DLC type nonsense.
Yeah, I believe they canceled it just before THQ went under.
Oh my god.
And then they ended up doing Saints Row 4. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take this. Hey, you did fine for the obscure references I gave you.
Lord have mercy. I don't watch things. The things that I do watch, I know a lot about. But I don't watch a lot.
Actually, I got one more if you're curious, because this actually is a funny little reference here I think you might dig.
Alright.
In season 3 of this web series, a dialogue exchange occurs as follows. Person number 1. Hollywood doesn't understand apocalypse. They think that just one thing from everyday life goes away, and that changes everything. Like in Road Warrior, it was gas. In Waterworld, it was land. Person number 2. So what went away in The Matrix? Person number 1. Sunlight. Person number 3. I thought the missing element was plot. Person number 1.
Damn.
I'm talking about Matrix number 1. Person number 2. Oh, right.
Damn. There was plot. God damn it. I'm sorry. Fuck. Oh, you said it's a web serial?
Web series, yep.
Oh, dude, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea.
I figured. This is from season 3 of Red vs. Blue.
I gotcha.
Yeah, this is actually one of the first references I thought of, and I'm like, I gotta put this one in here, because it's a clear cut, they dropped the name Matrix, so I gotta go with that.
No,
Alright, so
that's real. So
that's our trivia segment for this week, and Ryan, let's close out with a ranking of the movie. So, as everyone remembered from our Jurassic Park video, we go from platinum to shit to rank our films. Ryan, where would you rank this movie?
Alright, so it is a personal favorite. And again, because it's near and dear to my heart and shaped a lot of my opinions on shit. Objectively, I would give it a silver because I think it's really cool and I think it does a lot of fun things with it. The action is insanity, but like I said, the story really pared down, especially in the last two movies, into a story that's not for everybody. So the people that like it are gonna love that shit. But the people that aren't really into it, it's not like essential to see.
Yep, I see that. I'm definitely straddling the line between silver and bronze. I wouldn't go lower than that, though. I think that this film is definitely inoffensive. It's definitely something that wouldn't hurt. You wouldn't be like you wouldn't be hurt seeing this one. It's worth a look. I don't think everyone needs to see it by any means. It's definitely not one of those like upper echelon, like the best stuff. I think Matrix would the first one would probably go in the gold or platinum section. I have to rewatch it to nail it down. This one I would definitely say is not quite as strong, but I definitely see it in a mid to low silver, maybe high bronze. This depends on the situation, but yeah, that's where I'd put it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair.
So if you enjoyed this episode of the After Credits Cast, be sure to reach out to us at Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, or email. Ryan, what is that email?
That email station is evacstation@gmail.com.
You heard him right there, folks. evacstation@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you want to respond to any of these episodes, discuss about these movies in more detail, we will read your comments if they ever come in, and we will read them on the air, names and everything. And
if they ever come in,
I know that sounds pessimistic. When they come in, because you fuckers will fucking email some shit. We appreciate it. Ryan wants someone to talk to.
I do. I really do. I'm super lonely.
And if you have suggestions for movies you want us to talk about, be sure to leave those in the comments down below as well. And, as always, if you want to support our show, the best way to do that is by reviewing it on iTunes, sharing it with friends, and the best possible way is going to patreon.com/evacstation to donate $1 at the very minimum. And you can help keep the show going and help start up new shows, like a video game show, where I could talk about video games for 3 hours, because that sounds like fun, and I could talk about XCOM and Dark Souls and Smash Bros. Help me out here. Anyway, thank you for watching, and next time, what is next time? Next time's a Studio Ghibli. We're kicking off Studio Ghibli next time.
Yay!
So, stay tuned for some anime from overseas, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye!